Right now, as you're watching this, your brain is not recording reality, it's generating it. Every sight, every sound, every memory you trust, every decision you think you made freely, your brain constructed all of it. And in the process of constructing it, it took shortcuts, filled in gaps, rewrote history, and handed you a version of the world that feels absolutely, unquestionably real. But here's what's wild. The brain isn't doing this to deceive you. It's doing it to protect you, and understanding exactly how and why is one of the most useful things you can learn about yourself. So let's pull back the curtain on the 3 biggest lies your brain tells you every single day, and what you can actually do about it. Here's a fact that should genuinely disturb you. Your brain receives about 11 million bits of sensory information per second, but your conscious mind can only process around 40 to 50 of those bits. That's not a typo. 40 bits out of 11 million. So what does your brain do with the rest? It guesses. It uses your past experience, your expectations, and your current emotional state to predict what's probably true. And then it fills in the gaps so seamlessly, you never notice the edit. Neuroscientist Carl Friston at University College London calls this predictive coding. The brain, he argues, is essentially a prediction engine, constantly generating a model of the world and only updating that model when reality violates its expectations. You're not seeing what's there. You're seeing what your brain predicted would be there, corrected slightly by incoming data. The most elegant proof of this? Optical illusions. They don't reveal a flaw in your visual system. They reveal the prediction system working exactly as designed, just applied to an input it wasn't built for. Your brain didn't make an error when it saw those squares as different colors. It applied a real-world lighting model to a flat image, a perfectly logical prediction, a completely wrong conclusion. That's your brain, all day, every day, and the implications go way beyond optical illusions. Lie number 1, your memories are accurate. They're not even close. Memory is not a recording, it's a reconstruction. Every single time you recall a memory, your brain rebuilds it from scratch, pulling fragments from different neural regions, reassembling them, and quietly filling any gaps with plausible-sounding details. Details that feel real. Details that may never have happened. Psychologist Elizabeth Loftus at the University of California, Irvine spent 4 decades documenting this. In one of her most famous studies, she showed participants footage of a car accident and then asked one group, how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other? And she asked another group the exact same question, except she used the word hit instead of smashed. One word, that's all it took. The smashed group not only estimated higher speeds, they were significantly more likely to report seeing broken glass at the scene. There was no broken glass. The language used to ask the question changed what people remembered seeing. If a single word can do that to a memory that's less than a week old, imagine what years, emotions, and self-interest do to the memories you've been carrying for decades. This has massive real-world consequences. It's why eyewitness testimony is considered among the least reliable forms of evidence in modern courts. It's why you and your sibling can remember the same childhood event in completely different ways, and you're both absolutely certain you're right. Lie number 2, you make rational decisions. The uncomfortable truth is that most of your decisions are made before you know you've made them, by a system in your brain that runs on emotion, pattern recognition, and evolutionary shortcuts, not logic. Psychologist and Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman spent his career mapping this. His research describes 2 systems in the mind: a fast, automatic, emotionally driven system, one that handles most of your daily decisions, and a slow, deliberate, effortful system 2 that you believe is in charge, but is mostly just rationalizing what system 1 already decided. Here's a quick example. Read this and answer fast. A bat and ball cost $1.10 together. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? Most people say 10 cents. Almost everyone. The answer is 5 cents, but System 1 jumps to 10 cents before System 2 even gets a chance to run the math. And this exact same process, System 1 answering fast and confidently, System 2 failing to catch the error, plays out in decisions about money, relationships, health, and careers every single day. Lie number 3, and this one is the most unsettling. You are the author of your own choices. In the 1980s, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet conducted a now legendary experiment at the University of California, San Francisco. He wired participants to EEG equipment and asked them to flex their wrist at any time they chose, but to note the exact moment they decided to move, using a fast-moving clock to time it. What he found stunned the scientific community. Brain activity associated with the movement, what Libet called the readiness potential, began up to 500 milliseconds before participants reported being conscious of the decision to move. Half a second before they decided to act, their brain had already initiated the action. Your brain decided, then it told you that you decided. Your conscious experience of choosing may be, at least in part, a story your brain tells you after the fact. Now, before you spiral, this doesn't mean you have no agency. It means the part of you that has agency is broader, older, and less conscious than you assumed. And understanding that is actually useful. Here's what's important to understand. None of this makes your brain broken. It makes it extraordinary. For 99% of human evolutionary history, speed mattered more than accuracy. If you were walking through the African savanna 100,000 years ago and heard a rustle in the grass, the brain that assumed predator, even when it was wrong, survived longer than the brain that waited for confirmation. The prediction system? That's metabolic efficiency. Processing 11 million bits is energetically expensive. Predicting most of it and only updating when necessary conserves the cognitive fuel needed for actual emergencies. The memory distortion, that's adaptive. Memories that are rigid and uneditable become outdated. The ability to update them, to learn from new experience and revise old conclusions, is a feature, not a bug. The automaticity of decisions, that's speed. A System 1 that responds in milliseconds kept your ancestors alive. A System 2 that deliberated got eaten. The problem isn't that your brain is flawed. The problem is that you're running ancient hardware in a world it was never designed for, and knowing that changes everything about how you navigate it. So what do you actually do with all of this? 3 things: specific, research-backed, and genuinely useful. First, slow down your highest stakes decisions on purpose. Not all decisions. That would be paralyzing. But for anything involving money, relationships, or consequences, you can't easily reverse. Add friction. Sleep on it. Write it down before you decide. Or use what psychologist Igor Grossman calls Solomon's paradox. Ask yourself what advice you'd give a close friend in the same situation. His research shows this single reframe reduces cognitive bias by up to 40% because it creates psychological distance from the emotional pull of System 1. Second, treat your memory like an unreliable narrator. Not with paranoia, with calibrated skepticism. In any important conflict or disagreement, build in the assumption that your memory of events may be incomplete or subtly distorted, especially if strong emotions were involved when the memory formed. The people who do this aren't weaker. Research consistently shows they make better decisions and maintain healthier relationships. Third, and this is the big one, stop trying to override your brain and start designing around it. If most of your behavior is driven by automatic, unconscious systems, then trying to change behavior through willpower and conscious intention is fighting the wrong battle. What works, according to Stanford researcher B.J. Fogg and habit scientist Wendy Wood, is changing your environment so that the automatic system defaults to the behavior you actually want. Move the unhealthy snacks to the back of the cabinet. Put your running shoes by the door. Log out of the apps you're trying to use less. Your brain will take the path of least resistance. So make that path the one you want it to take. Your brain is the most complex object in the known universe. It built civilizations, composed symphonies, and solved problems that no other species has come close to. But it also distorts your memories, hijacks your decisions and tells you stories about your own choices that may not be entirely true. Understanding the mechanism doesn't make you cynical, it makes you precise. If this shifted something for you, subscribe. Because every week on this channel we go one layer deeper into the science of how you think, decide, and perform, and what to actually do about it. And if you want a one-page summary of 5 of the most practical frameworks from the research we cover here, I put together a free human performance cheat sheet. Link is in the description. No email required, just useful. See you in the next one.